third grade, this is Mr. Roney and welcome to Social Studies class here on a Tuesday. This week is going to be so fun and we are going to learn about geography and what it means. So geography is basically the study of the earth, the land, the air, the water, and more importantly, how we make sense of the world. And one of the most important tools that geography uses is something called maps. Whether you know it or not, you probably use maps all the time. You probably use a thing called mental maps. So do me a favor and close your eyes and think about what it looks like when you walk out your front door. What does your neighborhood look like? What happens when you turn right? What kind of things do you see? What's the land like? What are the houses like? What is the street like? And after that, what happens if you take another left or right or go straight? My guess is that you can visualize these things pretty well because you probably know the way around your neighborhood. Another thing you could do is think about being at school and use your imagination here. How do you get to your classroom from the main entrance? You probably do this very naturally every single day when you go to school. And you don't have to draw yourself a map on how to get from the main entrance to school. Unfortunately, if you had someone visit you at school though, this might be a lot harder for them because they don't have that mental map. They've probably never been to your classroom before. So today we're going to practice using maps and discovering why they're so useful to people, especially people who study geography. Geography is also very interesting because it can take something like the Earth, which if you look at it from space looks kind of like this, and turn it into a map that looks something like this. Now you might not think the Earth translates to that map very well, but that's what maps are. They're not the real thing. They're simply a representation or a model of the real world. And one of the reasons why I'm thinking about geography and maps this week is because over the weekend I went on a really long walk to get some exercise. And as I was walking, I recognized pretty much everything that was around me. But as I kept walking and walked some more, after about an hour, I reached a place where I didn't know where I was. I looked around and I didn't recognize any of the houses, I didn't recognize any of the people, and I did not recognize the street names. And basically, my mental map stopped working. I didn't have a mental map for this area. So today's activity is going to be based around you giving directions to someone who has never been to our school before, and has never been to your classroom, and doesn't know where it is. Just imagine you invite your parent or your brother or sister or a friend to school, and they show up at the main entrance of our citizenship school. What are some of the ways that you can tell them how to get to your classroom, and how would you write down some good directions so that they could follow it? For this activity today, let me tell you about what you're going to need. First of all, a piece of paper, a regular sized piece of paper is totally fine. And then you want to grab a pencil, a pen, and maybe some markers to color your map afterward. And what you're going to do is you're going to divide your paper into two different sections. So you're going to draw the title, and the title of my map is called My Map to Class. And then I drew some lines in the beginning so I could write down in words how someone could get from the main entrance to my classroom at school. And then leave some space on the bottom so you can actually draw a picture or a representation of how they get from the main entrance to your classroom. So one of the things you're going to have to focus on when you're giving written directions to your friend trying to get to school or to your classroom is the actual physical directions that you're going to give. So I know most of you probably know right from left, but I'll give you a reminder right now just so we make sure. So on this side of your screen, put your hand out that way. That side is your left side, and I'm doing it from your perspective because you're looking at me. So that way's left, and then if you put your other arm out, that way's right. So you're going to want to use your mental image of the school when you're writing these directions so you can tell them whether to turn left or right. Other directions you can use are straight ahead, down a hallway probably, up the stairs, or down the stairs. With those directions, left, right, up, down, and straight, you have all of the directions you'll need to get them to your classroom. Another thing you want to think about are landmarks. What are some things that people can recognize that let them know that they're on the right track? Think about the important rooms in our school that they might pass on their way to your classroom. Maybe they pass the cafeteria, or the gym, or a second or third grade classroom. Make sure you point out those important landmarks to tell them that they're on the right track. So with both directions and landmarks in mind, take a few minutes and write down directions on how someone gets from the main entrance to your classroom. I'm going to do it along with you. After you're done with the written portion of your map, it should look something like this. I'll show you what I wrote. And remember, when you're writing your directions, try to use complete sentences. So a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end of your sentence. Now for the visual portion of our map. Before we start drawing our map, it's important that we make a key to try to decode some of the symbols on our map to give people more information. So for this part of the map, I don't want you to use any words. What I want you instead to do is use symbols that in the key you can translate to words. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So because I'm trying to use landmarks, and I know when I go to my classroom, I pass 3 really important things on the way to my classroom, I'm going to come up with 3 symbols for my map. My first symbol is going to be a fork and a knife. Can you guess what that might symbolize? Yeah, that's going to be my cafeteria. So instead of taking up a lot of space on my map to write the word cafeteria, I'm just going to draw that knife and fork, and I'm going to make sure that people know what that means in my key. Another symbol I'm going to use is a sneaker, and that's going to symbolize the gym. So when people are looking at that map, they'll know where the gym is supposed to be. And the last thing I'm going to do is make a symbol for hallway. And that symbol is going to be really simple for me. I'm going to draw an H on my key to symbolize the hallway. And then finally, I'm going to make a symbol for my classroom. And because my classroom is the final point where I want people to be, I'm going to draw a star. So people know once they reach the star on the map, that's the right spot. So after you're done with your map, it might look something like this. This is what mine looks like. But in order to figure out if our maps really do a good job of helping people find our classroom, we've got to test it. So what I want you to do, and what I'm going to do in my house, is find someone who has never been to our school before. Find a parent or a brother or sister and show them your map and ask them, do you think you could actually use this map to find my classroom? And see what they say. And then, if they say that it does work, ask them what parts of your map help them visualize your school and find your classroom. So as you can see from my picture, translating a real building into a map on a paper is actually kind of hard. That's why testing it out is so important. I don't think my map actually looks that good, but I still think that if someone used it that had never been to the school before, they could find their way from the main entrance to my classroom. At the end of the day, take a picture of the map that you made, both the words and the visual part of the map, and show me. I'm going to open up a Google form, and so you can submit your picture through there, or as always, you can send a private Dojo message to me with your picture. If you can't figure out how to send a picture on Dojo, ask an adult. And if they still can't figure it out, just put a comment next to this assignment in Google Classroom and tell me what your map looks like in a sentence or 2. Knowing how useful maps are, like this one, is going to be really important for the rest of the week in geography. So, awesome job today. I'm really looking forward to seeing your maps. And I will catch you here tomorrow for another episode of Social Studies class. Have an awesome day, and again, I look forward to seeing your projects.